Welcome to the first day of class of this very reputed university that started its operation today. And it's Fil Phil University. Fil by Filipa, which is me, founder of the Understories. And then there's the other Fil, which is just the founder of Nike. I know, similar kind of founders. We have one thing in common. We founded a company. The reason I'm here today for your first class on which you did not enroll, I know. I just read this book called Shoe Dog by Phil Knight, the founder of Nike. And I felt that if I had read this book before I had my failed company, maybe I would have done better. So that's why we are starting this class today at Fil Phil University, for you not to make the mistakes I did and for you to do the mistakes Phil did. Let's start with the first of 6 lessons by Phil. I mean, this Phil. And the first lesson is obsession. I know, a bit toxic, but I also don't know any entrepreneur who isn't slightly toxic. Phil was obsessed when he started his business, obsessed with running. And by consequence, he got obsessed with running shoes. That makes him what people say or call a shoe dog. That's the title of his book as well. He was so obsessed with running and getting better results for others when it came to shoes that he created his own product, his own brand. And he was so committed to the project that he hired someone else to work on his company while he was working for a different one. He had 2 full-time jobs. So he had his full-time job at a different company, and then he worked early mornings, late nights, vacation, holidays, all possible periods of time he would allocate to developing his own business. That's the kind of commitment that gets you to imbalance. And by imbalance, that means that you are putting a lot of effort on something and less effort on other things. And this effort right here, the imbalanced effort, will get you to extraordinary results. And this is also connected to something quite interesting, which is vulnerability. By his book, you can understand that Phil felt tremendous joy doing his work. It felt like playing, not working. And when you get to that point of vulnerability, when you deliver yourself, everything you have to that product, that idea, that company, you are also expanding the possibilities of innovation and happiness for yourself and for others. The second lesson by Phil is failing! Exclamation mark. Everything has an exclamation mark on this book, believe me. Phil knew that he could not avoid mistakes. He wanted to do them. He just wanted to do them fast and quick so that he could iterate also fast and quick. He would extract those lessons and just make himself and his company better. And there's this situation, this particular situation, where he was with his partners at an exhibition, and it was a very important exhibition for them with all these sneaker brands, and they had a brand new shoe to present. They got there with tons of boxes. They opened the box, and the shoe was a disaster. They had a new provider, and therefore the leather was messy. It was the wrong kind of shiny, and the logo, the swoosh, was crooked. And right there, Phil had to decide what to do, and he decided to fail fast. So he sold them. And he told his partners, this is the worst shoe we'll ever sell, the worst one. So from now onwards, we can do better. We can just iterate. He turned it into something positive. And guess what? He sold a ton of shoes on that exhibition. And the shoes were clearly not that good. And one of his partners asked one of the clients that bought the shoes why he had bought those defective shoes. And he said, well, we've been buying shoes from you for quite a while, and we just forgive your mistakes because we know that you are honest, that you tell the truth, and that you are innovating. So we forgive you for that. You are trying to make our lives better. That's powerful. That's how I wish I had failed. Just fail like Phil. That could be a motto. Fail like Phil. Like it. Lesson number 3 is something called da-da-da, Trust. Yes. Phil trusted his gut and his product so much that it was contagious. And I can give you some crazy examples. There was a time where the company was almost bankrupt. They were just making a lot of orders and trying to sell as much so the money would not sit in their bank accounts. And the day came where they had no money to pay their factory workers. And what happened? They had a box provider. This box provider, when he knew about the situation, he gave Phil the money to pay those workers. So they went to this factory, the box factory. They collected the money and they paid the workers, Nike's workers, in cash. One more surprising fact about Phil and Trust. You know that he used to organize what he called Sunday summits at his place. He would invite family members, friends, colleagues, whoever he felt was necessary there, and just ask them, guys, I don't know what to do. Can you please give me advice? This is such a level of exposure to vulnerability that it creates instant trust. We have reached number 4, and that is dealing with uncertainty. And I know right now all entrepreneurs on that side are shaking because this is one of the biggest struggles we come up with on a daily basis. We never know what's going to happen. And that is difficult when you are trying to manage a business and creating some value and possibly losing some value as well. And that's when Phil comes and shows us that he always knew that he had a purpose, he had a path. He didn't know where it was going to lead him, but he was eager and curious to just try and find out. I think maybe we can try to be as curious. It's not an easy mission. He did all these bold investments, not knowing what was going to happen, but on a level that is risky, dangerous. He just did it because he believed it so much. And I can give you an example. When Nike decided to have their first factory, because before they used to just buy sneakers from suppliers, factories around the world, and they decided they wanted to have their own factory. Phil signed up for it to buy the place, and on that day, he could not afford to pay lunch to the guy who was going to manage the factory. Cash was just flowing out, flowing out, flowing out because he was investing it all. He believed it so much that he had no money to pay for lunch. And still, he bought a factory. If that's not dealing with uncertainty, then I don't know what else is. Phil always saw uncertainty as something necessary, but more importantly, as something temporary. And that's where he got his comfort from. He knew that right now I have to risk it, and one day we'll just be comfortable or not. Phil would also sign contracts, endorsement contracts, with athletes he could not afford. And he would do it because he believed that he would find a way to pay for them. And he just always did. Rule number 5 of Phil and Phil University. Perspective. Let me put a smile on it. Phil always had a curious way to look at things, and he'd always look at them from an angle of positivity, not the crazy kind of optimism that gets you to big time failure, but he was conscious enough and a bit delusional as well, and found this great formula that allowed him to push forward. So he had no money, and he would say, and now let me quote, and please tape this in your mind. We aren't broke. We just don't have money. Lots of assets, no cash. When Nike started, Phil had a partner called Powerman, and he decided he needed to create better soles for running shoes. And he did it while using something very scientific, a waffle maker, at home. He would buy these crazy ingredients, chemicals, whatever, and he would try, and he did create an incredible sole on a waffle machine. And he failed many, many, many times before getting it right. But the perspective was always, we are doing this right. They have to fail 1,000 times. And of course, this connects to everything here in order to find a solution. One more learning by Phil regarding perspective. When you only see problems, you are not seeing clearly. And that is so true. Lesson number 6, and I'm going to write it this big. That's faith. Believing is one of the most, if not the most important thing you can do for your business. And once again, it's a quite vulnerable act. And that's exactly what Phil dared to do from day one. He had this idea, he traveled the world, he found solutions, always believing. And if you read this book, you are going to be impressed with the challenges he had that would defy his faith because so many things went wrong so many times. And he never doubted his purpose. He never doubted that I'm going to nail it. And that is impressive. To be very honest, I was not able to do that with my business. I just became disappointed and sad and depressive, and I could not hold on to the faith I had on the first days. And that's something magical that Phil was able to do in his career at Nike. He comes and says, the accountant in me saw risk, the entrepreneur saw possibility. I split the difference and kept moving forward. He had, and I quote once again, no maybes about it. No maybes. He just had yeses. And he went for his yeses all the time, even though he got so many no's throughout the way. I know, Phil University is quite intensive. This lesson is long now. So, my last words for you, please go and buy this book. Let it take the needed space in your mind, in your heart, in your office, everywhere. I cried for the last 10 pages. I truly cried because it is that impactful and it keeps you on attention, non-stop tension, because you are eager to know what's going to happen. It's just an incredible book. A shoe company. That's what brought meaning to Phil's life. He created it, he raised it, he took care of it when it was ill, and he did a ton of CPR, so he brought it back to life hundreds of times. And that's what's present on this book, and that's what will keep you glued to it until the last page. And for him, there was no other option besides growing. It was either growing or dying. So please don't die. That's too dramatic here. But the message behind is that, and I quote him again, aside from being in the death row, life is grand. I get chills. Seriously, I do. Goosebumps. You see? Let's summarize the 6 lessons by Phil University. Number 1, be obsessive about your business. There's no other way to go. Dare to fail. That's part of it. And if you don't fail, you'll never reach better results. Trust your gut, trust others, and make yourself trustworthy by being vulnerable, of course. Just learn how to deal better with uncertainty. This is so hard, but we can try. We are together on this one. Always look on the brighter side by having a better perspective of things. And now the big one, faith. Just believe in yourself, believe in your business, and go forward with it. That's it for today from Phil University. I'm Filipa, the founder of Understories, a project that focuses on the stories behind the story, on the backstage of life, where you find problems, decisions, indecisions, but also lots of opportunities. I hope you enjoyed. I'm waiting for your comment, your like, and your criticism as well. I need feedback. I'm starting here. And I might be also hoping for some Nike's outfits in case Nike wants to supply. I trust you can do it. I believe. I have faith. See you next time. I just want to record this moment. This is me in my robe, having lunch while studying for my business. I know, glamorous, right? But yeah, I just wanted to record it for the moment when things will change and I'll have a successful business going on, that this was the backstage. Not glamorous, not pretty, but vulnerable and necessary.